Third top lane ban in as many picks here for both sides. And Insec probably thinking that, you know what, I'm not going to have a fun time again, am I?
Probably not going to get Nazir either at this stage, I would imagine. If this ban continues in the current trend, we're going to see 6 for top.
Yep, 4 top lane bans so far, as Rise is the second choice there for LGD. Maybe considering first picking Azir as Shen, going to be the 5th top lane ban so far, and King's final one. And there's the Asimo ban up against Insec. 6 full top lane bans there up against King. And Kallista's left open for Name.
There are so many things left. I feel like they got carried away in their drafting phase. Their bans here, making sure the Rise was gone, that the Vladimir was gone. I don't think they're as impactful as what you would otherwise expect, compared to that of a Kallista, which has now been freely given over to Name.
I mean, there's so much power left on the board that I'm curious to see what happens here. I have to think LGD will at least consider Azir at some point in this draft, although King, if LGD don't take it now, I'm guessing King will take it for themselves. You can see Flame maybe thinking the same thing, is going to highlight it, but you have to keep Kalista away from Imp, and Name is no slouch.
I think it's as simple as even just going for the Sivir, or they could go for like the front line, don't reveal your hand style of draft right now. They don't need to go for an Azir, anything outrageous. They can go for it because Korn plays it. They could take that away from him. Based off the last game performance, wouldn't be a big surprise, but I still think that this is a lot better.
Yeah, I like these picks. Maokai Gragas once again for LGD. Going to keep that front line intact here as Huey instantly hovers over that Echo. But what do King want to do here? They probably have to build around this Kalista at least a little bit here. Because if she gets going, Name on this sort of champion can carry his team.
Yeah, definitely. Insec seemingly comfortable with this potential matchup also, knowing the Maokai is the top lane opponent, so we'll see what he really does want to pick into that one. He does have the free option of the counter pick. I like the adaption in the jungle at the very least.
Yeah, Huey going to go to Echo now as his next pick. Could of course be a solo laner, but unlikely given the current state of the champion.
I'll just go to Rengar.
Just go to Rengar. That'd be fun. Maybe save it. Don't need to pick a solo laner right now. Can solidify that bottom lane first here. Who knows?
So this is fine. They could even just go for the Thresh as an option for Zero, but instead they do want that big front line to really be in the face of LGD. They've got the Alistar now. The Echo's a front line sort of base champion, but a little bit more utility heavy in the way that he wants to be in and out and weaving.
And LGD are done with their next 2 picks.
Yep.
Janna, Kog'Maw there for LGD. Probably Kog'Maw for Imp, which seems just fine there against the old Kalista.
Yeah, definitely. It's a strong bot lane. The laning phase itself is not all that great, but Kog'Maw not having a mana cost on the W, giving him that extra range and damage is going to be fantastic, and then having a Janna to boot.
Yep. I was kind of surprised they let Janna go here, especially with wanting Alistar, but can't take everything away here. Zero deciding he wants the more aggressive support, a bit more engaged there as well. As King, just considering their last few picks, they'll lock in Fizz, but that is a flex pick for the team. So they can still go with Nara if they want to as well.
Yeah, they've got some time to decide if they want the mid Fizz or if they want the top Fizz.
Mid Fizz.
There it is.
There's Nara locked in for Insec, and Korn going to go blind pick Fizz, their real comfort pick there.
Definitely comfort if you're picking a blind, not knowing who you're against, whether it maybe is the Kog'Maw from God V, or whether they want to go for something a little bit more fighter-based. And I would imagine that God V would want to 1v1 his lane a little bit more than what he currently would be doing on a Kog'Maw.
I almost thought it was a blocker pick for that champion right there, Azir, but Fizz isn't the hardest counter to Azir. It's not even necessarily a counter matchup. It's probably a fine matchup, but can be tricky to navigate, certainly, especially against a player like Godv. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. LGD, 15 seconds left to decide on that mid laner.
There's always the subtle intricacies of a Fizz in a matchup at all because of his spells and the way that he moves around the lane. Very hard to actually keep up with or predict where he's going to go. One of the strengths of Fizz in that respect. But having the Azir Sand Soldiers, you don't need to be in range to take any damage. So most of the trickiness comes from trying to deal damage to Korn when he tries to last hit minions, not dying necessarily.
Yep, and that Godby going to take the Azir once again into a very different matchup this time, as Korn has gotten his Fizz once again here in the LPL. A well-known Fizz player for a while, Con, certainly someone that just has his own champion pool.
Definitely does.
Insec as well, actually.
Yeah, Insec's quite unique. He's one of the few carry top laners. Korn likes to do his own thing, so King is a very interesting side in that respect. They do have a very good team comp, though, if you keep that in mind. LGD, similar to what they had in the last game. The only actual change is that Kog'Maw. It's not a Sivir. Probably a good thing for LGD if they start winning again, because he won't just use the on the hunt and run at them.
Yep.
Bit more range to save his own life.
And probably, I don't know, matchup's interesting there against Kalista, but we'll see how that pans out here. I like Zero with the Alistar as well. Forgotten that Kalista can enable that. And again, similar sort of makeup here for King. They've got the tools to win, but can they overpower LGD? It starts in the top, Na versus Maokai, but moves swiftly to that jungle. Huey on the Echo versus TBQ with a repeat performance on Gragas.
Yeah, nice change to that Echo in particular, getting rid of the Evelyn. As we move to mid, we've got the Fizz into the Azir.
Yeah, and Name on the Kalista, but had to take it away from Imp, who's gone Kog'Maw as his choice of counter matchup. And rounding things out there, Zero back on Alistar with PYL. Another double there. Going to go with Janna once again.
An aggressive bot lane here from King against what is more of a passive style of farm and put some poke down here.
That's a great sign there. You can see someone coming all the way from the States to watch some LPL. I guess they're an EDG logo there. Not playing just yet, but still a fun match here, especially with the way LGD have been playing. But let's let them do more of the talking and get onto the riff for game number 2. And we're back as LGD are once again. We're going to take their 6th undefeated game, I believe. They're on quite the hot streak right now. Our LGD and King, their playoff dreams are dead, I believe, if our maths is correct. Certainly don't ask me on that one.
It is correct.
Well, mathematically eliminated from playoffs, but not done yet, King. Points still matter, because finishing 12th isn't just bad for the last place factor, but auto relegation doesn't feel too great either.
No, they want to fight for their place at the very least to ensure that they maintain their spot in the LPL as Flame.
Oh, nice. Flame going to get knocked up there by Zero. Exhaust is down. Flame will die, and it's Insec that gets first blood.
A fantastic start right there from King. Getting the kill that they're looking for, onto Insec in particular as well. If there's one person you want the kill on besides maybe Name on the Kalista, always nice to snowball that. It's going to be Insec, and he plays like a carry when he's ahead, so that's going to be big for them.
Yeah, and Nah can be a bully champion. We saw a bit of that today with Dandy into Tech Room.
That was a mistake right there. They placed the ward in vision of the second turret, so you might be raising some questions here as King.
Oh, it's a delicious
They're
bait.
not going to be able to spot the red buff, or anyone walking to the red buff, I should say.
It's not a bait. It's just a slight mistake there.
It's a whole lot of
that King have quite a lot of sentinels moving in, as Godby will check the red buff area.
They're looking for a lane swap as the Kalista-Alistar matchup, so they're not confident taking on their opponents here of the Kog'Maw Janna. The direct auto attack trades quite weak for the Kalista in the early game. You can never really stack up enough to put down the Ren stacks and out-trade the Kog'Maw, especially with an Eye of the Storm here from Janna, PYL in particular. They've decided they don't want anything to do with it. Maybe they don't want to deal with a 1-0 Insect.
Maybe not.
As well.
Insect, though, eats a bit of harass. Trying to find some CS with boomerangs. Doesn't get some just yet as Flame hit level 2 already. And Huey's going to go for a very early gank. Godby now hitting level 2. The flash will follow, but TVQ's here as well. Huey forced to back up.
Wow, that was a lot of early aggression right there. The early gank from Huey stealing the red buff. LGD have the response, thankfully, but the fact that Echo followed with the flash as well almost put him in a fantastic position if the rest of the cavalry didn't arrive on time.
Yeah, interesting flash timing there, but Godby doesn't quite follow properly, as now red buff will be taken out away from King by LGD, but blue buff still there, of course, for King, and Huey's already taken away TBQ's red. So just going to be a trade by the looks of things.
Brute forcing their way in there. So Echo's actually bottom right now, by the way, looking to try and help Insec out as they may be looking for the 4-man dive. Seeing 2 people here should deter them because there's a third on the way, and that would be a risk from LGD.
Zero here as well. King seems to know what's happening here, but Insect only level 1. Boomerang lands for a slow. Flame quite low here as well, so we'll have to be a bit careful. And as 7 different people are down in the bottom side of the map, it's Name that's actually reaping all of the early benefits.
Definitely is. Being by himself in that top lane at the moment is going to do wonders for the level scaling of this Kalista, and just the fact that he gets to freely farm. Now, Flame has finally made his way up there after a lot of rotations around with his jungler. Still behind in levels to that of Name, but he's going to be okay as this Maokai.
Using that teleport there as Flame, get himself up to that turret, but both top laners going to struggle early on for that CS. Insect in particular getting nicely zoned by PYL and Imp. As you can see, just can't really stand toe-to-toe with the 2 level 3 champions in his lane.
And it's the strength of a Janna as well in a lane swap scenario, is that if you get to freeze your lane and you can deny anyone away, there is no way that a top laner can directly 1v1 the AD carry from just the eye of the storm.
And great smite usage there by LGD as well. Do spot Huey and Zero looking for somebody in that right-hand side of the jungle. Korn mid lane now as well, actually up ever so slightly on CS here to Godby, but looking fine for now as Godby goes in, gets the knock-up TBQ there as well. First blood, barely missed the flash out as well, and Korn lucky to be alive.
Very well played from Godby. He's just developed his mastery of Azir seemingly out of nowhere. Korn forced to recall, and TBQ, they do get the flash out, but he has to recall, miss all of these minions. Not a great position to be in.
Yeah, it goes back, gets a Doran's ring, actually gets 2 because he started with a Crystalline Flask. And Huey going to be somewhat thankful for the extra CS, but Korn might run into some problems here as Azir goes back, and it's a quick amplifying tone there for Godby.
Yeah, so looking to accelerate the laning phase, find some strength, probably going towards a Fiendish Codex as the first item. As Name's struggling to last in under the turret. Half health against Flame. Yeah,
it's always tricky with Kalista sometimes because you click wrong once and you're clicking wrong for the rest of the auto.
You are committed to that auto attack.
Oh, Insect as well. You can see level 4 for both the AD carry and support. This freeze has been brutal.
The worst part is Insect hits Meganar and then has to fight.
Oh, nice stun coming in. Godby will get locked up. Zero here as well. Headbutts him away, and first blood barely missed as Huey able to get it.
He doesn't get away, but a valiant attempt right there from Godby to just get out, if at all possible. A nice roam though, 3-man gank. Very pre-planned as Huey putting down that parallel convergence to ensure it connects. Knowing that Godby did not have his flash available. They capitalize on that quite nicely, but while we're talking about capitalizing, they're capitalizing on Insect being non-existent as a factor in this game right now.
Yep, I mean, I was going to say, I like what King are doing, but Insect's the one that has to bear the brunt of all this roaming action, so we'll see how Little Na does here. About 10 CS behind Flame, which would be his normal direct lane opponent, and Zero finally coming in for a bit of help, but kind of an awkward duo lane here. And Imp, he's also getting free farm as Huey bops down to the bottom lane.
Yeah, Echo acknowledging the fact that something has to happen. They've gone in.
Yeah, nice from Echo, from Zero there, sorry, as Echo dives in. Imp gonna get locked up there. Good flash to get himself out of safety of the convergence. POAL gonna live here as well, but nice pressure from this Echo.
Echo level 5 right now has been soaking up experience everywhere that he possibly can. And he's actually the same level as almost every single member of LGD. So considering how the game has started, they found themselves 2 kills. He's been doing quite well. Insect now actually getting some pressure alleviated from him, allowing him to, at the very least, try and last hit minions, push it out. Their goal is to stop it from being frozen near the turret.
Huey gonna look for the steal, does get it there onto the blue buff. Really impressive players. Imp super low in the bottom side now as well. Insect with that Meganar form putting on some pain, and LGD might just get dove here.
I don't know if they would consider a dive. They just spotted TBQ as well nearby, so a commitment to that dive would scream your own death. But LGD, they do need to recall themselves here. A very risky position to remain, but he has remained.
He has. Korn level 6 now as well, can threaten Azir if he tries to leave the lane. But things going just fine on the CS front for mid. No one too far ahead or behind as Flame also doing nicely on CS. But again, has given Name plenty of room. Name actually going back, I think. Where did he go? There he is. Bilgewater Cutlass completed. Going to walk back towards the top lane because he just wants more farm.
Definitely wants more farm. Actually, it looks like he's changing his mind. Insect gave him the big no button. Said, I am going to my lane. I have had enough of this torture in the bot lane. You can 2v2. So that is exactly where they've now changed their mind and have gone.
Phage up for Kog'Maw. Imp's actually walking up there already. So pretty interesting game being played here as Kalista, I think, accepted the potential 2v2, but Imp's like, nah, I'm going to follow Insect. He's my friend.
Friend or frenemy, I suppose. He's trying his best to deny Insect from getting anything at all. And maybe by pure chance, maybe prediction, they have come back into this top lane. The problem is Dragon.
And Zero, who's now caught out by PYL. Flames ported as well. Fate's Call going to tie him out, though. Saving that level 4 Alistar.
Being a level 7 Kalista does wonders for having that ultimate available. Zero struggling with levels himself, but they've spotted LGD doing the Dragon. They don't want to give it up for free.
Caught from Insect. Really nice stop as Flame already down here, but they know Imp can't make it. Fish will land there as Insect flashes forward. He's almost Mega Nova. He's going to try and line up an ulti. Hyper will proc. Korn's going to dive in there as well. Insect just hits the ulti on the edge, but misses that wallop. And Huey tried to make a play in the backlines. Going to get stabbed by Godby. King, though, do not lose anyone and might just have enough room to take the Dragon.
Walking past the King board as well, annoying me endlessly right now.
Did a lot of that today.
There has been, but they're going for the Dragon themselves, and of course the teleport from Insect, the key factor as to why that went so well for them. I really like this team comp that King have put in place, but it's very heavily reliant on auto attacks. You'll notice the Gnar, the Echo, the Fizz, and the Kalista all need to get relevant auto attacks off. But it is super hard to get those auto attacks off when you look at LGD's side.
Are you telling me it's time for an Ardent Sensor, Rusty?
Almost. I'd say almost time.
Almost.
Not quite.
Not
I don't know what times there are to actually say it's time, but it's almost.
Well, we had one last game. We'll see what happens here as King going to take away this blue buff for themselves. Zero continuing to roam aggressively. As Godby maybe going for the same build, does have at least the Stinger portion.
He does have the Stinger. We'll see where he wants to translate that to, whether it is the Nashes. But we've touched on the fact that King really want to get those auto attacks off, but just take a second to actually soak in what LGD have to offer to prevent auto attacks from coming out. So first and foremost, Gragas Janna denies everything, displaces. Flame's probably dead.
Speaking of, there's some displacement. Knock out there as well for Zero after the Fate's Call. Doesn't get the headbutt though, but Flame has been riddled with arrows. Good flash headbutt there for Zero. Wants to ensure the kill happens, and Name just wrecks Flame's health bar.
That's a lot of arrows stuck in somebody that have just been ripped out of him and destroys him, but a lot of effort was required to make sure that he did go down. So in the end, they get the kill they're looking for. Flame doesn't have teleport, doesn't have his flash, and is 0-2, so is not having a great time. What is better is that now the Kalista has a kill to boot.
Yeah, there's been a lot of resources invested in this Kalista by King, clearly trusting Name. He's looking to try and take a tower, but hasn't done so just yet here. And despite the kill lead and the Dragon lead for King, the gold's still nice and even, so things will start heating up here in this game, but right now it's just been a couple kills here and there for King, and that one Dragon is the big advantage. Good tornado. Oh, catches him though, Korn. Gonna jump in here as well. Fish will miss. PYL just able to dodge that one.
That was close, but they get away with their lives. Insect actually taking a lot of damage for his troubles. So LGD can actually stay around and push him out of his lane right now, which is unfortunate given that the gank was just theirs.
Is indeed a Zero.
Finally.
Slaps away the pink ward. Sentinel moving up the river there as well as Blade of the Ruin King is almost online there for Name. Going to be his first big power spike here in this game. But Imp working on a Trinity Force, so AD carries pretty similar actually with Imp just having a slight CS lead despite all the space that this Kalista has been given.
Yeah, a lot of time has been sunk into actually rotating around the different lanes, going to the Dragon here and there. It took a very long time to actually kill Flame at all, so TBQ.
Good ward actually by Insect, but there might not be enough. Insect's Hex Drinker will pop. Huey gonna zone them off there with a parallel convergence. Imp though doing nice damage. They have to clear the wave. Insect's a little too far forward. Gets knocked up by the tornado, and TBQ going to take him out.
They do everything they can. Even Imp, whilst tanking the turret, manages to turn around, get one attack onto Huey before leaving the turret's range. The aggression and making sure they get every little detail out of a dive that they can is phenomenal. TBQ again, the MVP of the last game on Gragas, has shown up in this one, that is for certain.
Yeah, his Gragas looking good here in the game, but tower does fall there in the bottom side. King able to get that one for themselves. Korn as well, kind of working on his next item, but having a fine time in the mid lane, just free farming here to match Godvy's current CS and actually exceed it by a tad. And Cinderhawk here for Huey's been finished up, which means things are coming together. But Imp's going to get real strong real soon. In fact, he's going back now, have an inkling that he's finished that Trinity Force.
So both teams here look to accelerate themselves towards a later stage in this game. Godvy, if he goes for that Nash's Tooth again, most likely going to be the Pathers. Yeah, look, he has the Trinity Force completed now. At 14 minutes in this game, pretty good timing here. Name doesn't quite have his Blade of the Ruin King available to him yet. He's going to be very close himself, though.
Shouldn't be too far. In fact, yeah, 1,000 gold up means that he does have a slight lead against Imp as far as gold goes, and of course, enough there to finish it off on the next back. 0 level 6. Done a nice job roaming around as well. In fact, Abyssal there for Korn. Maybe the most curious choice here in this game. What do you think of that choice, Dusty?
Yeah, it's not too bad. You can see actually all of King are trying to stack magic resistance. Even in the top lane, they've got the Spectre's Cowl and the Hex Drinker for Nah. And he was up against the Kog'Maw in laning phase. So definitely looking for that Maokai lane. Kog'Maw does a fair bit of magic damage, but really starts to ramp up with the physical once he gets later into the game. It just negates that extra bonus magic damage that can be provided as a TBQ.
Nope. Denied. Insect hops himself away, but that's probably going to be enough to zone off King from this top lane turret. Insect going to try and clear it out quickly. Wave will fall, but the next one's just about to push as well. Zero calls himself up here as well, just to make sure they can keep this tower.
Yeah, they've all rotated towards this. Going to be the big point of contention.
Ooh, tower though. Not going to be saved. Not there in time, unfortunately, for King, sorry. The tower does fall. That's one apiece now between the teams as LGD find themselves barely in the lead here, about 400 gold ahead.
Yeah, barely in the lead, but they're still in the lead, and this is not a position you ever want to find yourself in as King, given that it is 3-1 in kills at the moment. It's still 1-0 in Dragon, so there's a lot of points where there are positives here for King. They're actually starting the second Dragon up potentially for themselves. LGD not really in place to stop it.
Imp not there, and Nami going to beat him to it. So this Dragon should be fairly easy for the King lineup. Kalista does make that task quite simple as a nice smite from Huey going to take it away. Insect there as well just to zone them away. And things kind of going as planned here. King seem to be just looking for that 5th Dragon snowball.
Definitely looking for the 5th Dragon. They need to find something other than just the 5th Dragon, though, to be fair, because you cannot rely on an unreliable win condition to get yourself to a victory. LGD at this stage, though, struggling to actually contest that 5th Dragon, as Godby hasn't been unlocked in this game, hasn't really found a chance to roam around the map and really impact it. But the closer we get to these big power spikes, you can see the Narcissus Tooth is the choice here for Godby. They've got that Trinity Force on him, he's working towards his boots, and they've also got the Righteous Glory on Flame. So in regards to big power spike for LGD, if there was a point for them to look for maybe a team fight, it'll be very soon around the tower or in the next Dragon.
Well, right now, just seeing the teams jockey for position here as everyone's building up that early goal. A fairly quiet game here, only 4 kills in 17.5 minutes. Means that all the early actions sort of translated to a relatively soft mid-game. Quite a long laning phase here with only a tower down each. So we'll see how this develops. But right now, both teams just sort of waiting, trying to make sure they get to those big power points.
They are definitely waiting for the power points. But both teams starting to hit those power points, which is why you can see King looking aggressively in the mid lane, daring Godby to do something.
Nice and proactive here from Nami, going to look for the tower. Doesn't quite get it. TBQ going to zone him off. Huey here as well, though. The ulti's there, but Nami's going to flash him out to safety. Korn just eats PYL there with his fishes. Imp takes out Huey, but TBQ gonna die now as well. Great ult there from Godby as Name can't really do anything. He takes out the tower though, cuts back away from Flame, and it's almost enough from him, but not quite to kill Name. Now Godby gonna set up a tower, but Korn's gonna run him down with Zero and Insect. And King, a nice teamfight dive with a 4-1 win.
So they have the Abyssal Scepter for Korn. They've got all of their relevant items to get themselves to a fantastic position in this game. The Hex Drinker even saving Insect by a bit there, not going down. But the most important thing about that fight right there was Korn. The way that he played that fight, instantly picking on PYL, putting him in a horrendous position. He has the Ardent Sensor, by the way, so doesn't have health to speak of, really. And dies before he could really do anything. The ultimate's there, the flash is there, the ignite is there. Cops the fish and dies.
Yeah, and you can see, looking over King's itemization now after that. In fact, before that, let's watch this again.
Yeah, so TBQ is the one putting this into effect, but PYL non-existent within a second of this fight breaking out. Insect just sits on him and makes his life miserable. Korn flashes with the Playful Trickster to ensure Kog'Maw goes down. Name barely living here from the Kog passive. Does get out with his life, and then Godby's left to try and just deal with the remainder of that. King played the team fight quite well.
They did, and the next team fight theoretically should go even better for them given what they've just picked up. Banshee's Veil done for Insect, Zhonya's Hourglass done there for Korn, and the Runan's Hurricane complete for Name. He's about a pair of Berserker Greaves away from hitting that sweet 2-item power spike.
Yeah, the 2-item Callista power spike. All he is missing is, as you mentioned, those boots are not too far, like 575 gold away from that. The 2 items that have been completed, though, Blade of the Ruined King Runans gives enough kite as it is basically as this Callista to rampage your way through team fights, and that Hurricane is indicative of wanting to continue to team fight. You look at the Fizz's item build as well. Finish the Zonias. Again, wanting to be relevant in these team fights, the effective Zonia stasis can actually make you be super aggro now, whereas you couldn't really have been as aggro prior.
No, you'd have to pick your spots instead. Can just get in and go crazy here as Insect hops into Mega Gnar form. Doesn't quite clear the wave though. Korn actually sticking in that top lane where he just got a tower down. So nice little split push happening here for King. With Dragon being up in a minute 40, if they want that fight, that's their next point to look for it.
Definitely is going to be their next objective. Dragon number 3. Will LGD actually want to contest that one though is the question, given that they're getting their big power spikes in terms of items, but they're still waiting on the 2-item spike of the Kog'Maw. Costs a lot more, to be fair, to hit that big 2-item power spike. The Aziz starting to ramp up in terms of his relevance and damage, but it's just not going to be really comparable if on execution levels they're even to King.
No, and right now, with the way things are going, King are poised to try and take a game here off LGD. Ruined Godby's flawless Azira.
They have ruined his KDA.
That's true. Might ruin his win rate as well. If things continue, of course, with a glamorous 1-game undefeated streak there for Godby.
Yeah,
and Huey's
that one though.
And Huey's Echo. Been really impressive in the early game. I've seen him play it before, but clearly has been doing work with the champion because it's just so much more impactful than it sort of was before.
Yeah, it really was. He was doing a lot of work. I mean, Huey, compared to that Eve, didn't do anything, was kind of run around by LGD, which is impressive given that it was an Evelyn, one of the harder to deal with junglers. But the Echo, which arguably easier to deal with, has been providing this impact. And I think it comes down a lot more to the lane swap than the champion pick as well, is that it's unlocked the junglers to have their presence around the map wherever they would choose, and he chose best.
Yep. Really pressuring mid lane. Korn actually pretty significantly far ahead in terms of CS as King are onto the Dragon. And LGD just don't have an answer for Dragon number 3. And alright, 3rd Dragon, not huge, but certainly relevant. But LGD can't really keep in that mindset because they're going to have to start contesting for these 4th and 5th ones.
I completely need to start contesting. The next Dragon in particular would be the point where LGD would say, well, we have to deal with this one, or even if we win the next team fights, they've still got the 5th Dragon to fall back to. So deny that next one away. You give them the possibility of getting back in the game themselves. The 6% at this point in the game will start to help them as well. It's a Cogmore after all. His damage is through the roof.
Yeah, you can see Name just pushing out waves there with the Hurricane. PYL joins into the bottom lane to shield up that turret and try and keep it safe. They will manage to keep it standing for now. King kind of struggling with the siege at this particular point, but again, no rush here for King. Just kind of looking to those dragons and thinking that's the way we win.
Yeah, that's the key condition for them now. They can find team fights in between, then it's fantastic for them. But it's still risky because they're against the Cogmore and they're against the Nazir. They've got the front line of that Maokai and the Gragas, and they've got the support party of the Janna. So the later the game goes, if they don't get their 5th dragon, you start to question their ability to actually close out this game. And LGD could very easily take it away from them. Easier said than done, though, of course.
Yeah, very much so, as Godby just farming up a storm, trying at least, taking out the Wolves, but still about 30 CS behind Korn, who's trying to find a good lane to sit in and absorb some more farm. QSS up for Name as well means that he can get out of some of those CCs, but not that many of the knockups, unfortunately. There's quite a few on LGD's side.
Yeah. So, again, auto-attack reliant champions here from King. It comes down to them engaging the fights for the fights to be successful. But LGD's team comp, very good at actually preventing that from happening and disengaging fights out of the way.
Oh, they want PYL. They fished him. He's dead. Huey going to scoop up that kill. King, nice bait in the Baron pit.
Very easily baited by them. Also, they've got complete vision control of the Baron pit, first and foremost. You can see by the way that TBQ's placing vision there.
Does get dropped there by Zero, who's going to force that flash out from TBQ. Nice ult there from Name, saves Zero.
Oh no.
Clears out the ward as well. Not quite there in range of that pink ward, but Godby going to scoop that out anyways. King start Baron.
That's aggressive. They know that TBQ is nearby. He fails
Oh
the
no!
ward. He doesn't have a ward.
Puts a barrel in, we'll get some vision now. Teleports down there for Flame. King will have to back away, but that ward almost cost them.
That was close. They don't get the Baron. We're going to see another version of the Baron dance from the other side here. If King can make this work, then they can do exactly what LGD did and snowball kills from Baron control. But I like the response from LGD. They don't need to fight around that Baron. They know that King are fairly low.
Huey going to zone them off though with his W. The rest of King return. Fish will go out. Hits PYL again. Forcing the flash away and the ult from Gragas. Insect going to pop back into Mininar form.
Heat seeking.
Yeah.
It just keeps finding PYL. There is no way for him to deal with this at this stage. Thankfully though, it is only hitting PYL. It's not hitting Godby or Imp, so that is always going to be very good for them. It just removes Janna from the fights, essentially, so a lot of the peel has to come from self-peel for this Cogmore and Azir, and that's easy to do as an Azir. Not necessarily simple as a Cogmore to peel a Fizz away.
No, needs PYL to be there, which is part of the reason it's awkward when he dies in team fights. You can see Korn's really been gunning for Janna there as well in the last few exchanges. Insect Meganar is going to get Flame off this Gromp.
Yeah, wants the Gromp himself.
Gromp battles. He's going to get it. It is Insect.
He wins this round, but he's also lost his Mega Gnar, so he's not necessarily going to be too strong of an impact in direct laning against each other. Right now, LGD find themselves somewhat behind. Not convincingly behind. That pink ward is useless.
It's interesting.
It's not placed in the right spot.
No.
It's on the very edge, and that is actually like a small curvature of the bush.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually spot a thing.
No. Unfortunately for King. LGD going to have a nice little ward placed there. Meganar again from Insect. Going to wallop up Flame. Just sort of force him away. And I like what King are doing. They're just being patient.
They are being very patient. Of course, they can fall back to their dragon. 1 minute away is going to be dragon number 4 for them if they should go for this. As one of the cute things about Cogmore is he can aggro the Baron from really far away.
Yeah,
actually, chunk 0.
Level 14 now for Imp, so about to hit that rank 3 ulti for a bit of extra range and damage. Blade of the Ruin King up as well, not too bad as Godby also hit himself
Oh, that 100
that
gold.
2-item power spike. Delicious. Gets it.
Nailed it.
So much gold.
That's a lot of gold for an Azir turret. You need to be very careful in the way that you place it.
0?
Baron hurt 0.
He does. Doesn't use his ulti, thankfully, but is actually forced back. Dragon up in 20 seconds means the King might have to make a tough choice here between buffs, but I think they know what their win condition is. Seems like they're more interested in Dragon, at least for now.
Definitely. Control the vision around Baron. Translate that immediately to the Dragon. Try and catch people unaware and make a very quick rotation and take the objective. The question is, what will LGD do in this situation? They're about to give up Dragon number 4 for free.
Yeah, and Godby just recalled as well, so they can't fight even if they wanted to here. Kalista and Echo gonna tear through this Dragon. Goes down, Huey smites it. Insect running interference in the bottom lane, and all of a sudden King is pinging Baron.
Yeah, they're 6 minutes away from being able to potentially win this game right now. The 5th Dragon is being completely uncontested by LGD. They're going to have to force this 5th Dragon to be contested. If they don't go for it, they're trying to throw their own game out the window, essentially. And now that the Dragon is no longer a factor, Insect still being a pest in this bottom lane, LGD just have not found a way to pull the trigger on anything.
No, and I feel like they've been hoping King would fight them, and King are just like, hang on, we're the ones that are ahead.
Yeah.
We're just going to relax.
Like,
as Insect headbutts the tower.
But then you look at the engage from LGD, and it's not necessarily that great. It does need to be either a flank from a Maokai teleport, doesn't have the home guards available, or TBQ hitting another barrel. And to be fair, he does hit all of his explosive casks at very important times onto the right members. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be guaranteed.
Yeah, and Flame starting to run into problems now with this Nara. In fact, Insect might just kill him as Flame takes about 60% of his health down. That's only with a Hex Trigger as Imp's forced a flash from Korn.
And that's big. The fish will be available well and truly before the flash of Kog'Maw is catching him on rotation, something that probably should not have happened, but is coming down to not even vision control from King, just map control, and they're putting themselves in position to try and get people out of position, but didn't find it that time, forced a flash at the lead.
Yeah, I mean, it's deliberate here for King the pace. I think that's a pretty easy way to put it.
By the way, on both Fizz and God.
Yeah, I mean, mid lane is kind of from the start of this game. We're just kind of going to town on all the farm, but what do you think of the way King are playing this game? Because it is quite slow.
It's super slow. I'd say it's almost methodical in the way that they're doing it, but LGD, their drafting doesn't necessarily take it to King at all. So it's slow by choice or by force. I'm not entirely sure just yet, because realistically, they haven't done anything besides let King win the game.
And that's usually not a good thing. As you can see, King still up about 4,000 gold. And of course, crucially, the 4 dragons and even the 4 turrets, just for a bit of extra space here. Randy was completed now for Insect. 3 items done for Name plus that QSS. Even Echo's getting crazy tanky, and Korn's going to be onto his 3rd major, possibly even 4th major item relatively soon. That late game Azir we saw in the last game with those 3 big items, just not really there yet. And Imp is getting stronger, but Kog'Maw, especially when he goes late game, takes quite a while to get there. And I'm not sure LGD have all the time they really like.
They're going to need a QSS for the Kog'Maw to get the fish off you. At the very least, you don't want to have to waste that flash to get to safety. And then probably the Infinity Edge even. Not going for that last Whisper yet. And they're starting to get armor. But the fact they've gone for magic resistance is actually a good thing for him, because he will be unlocked a lot sooner.
Yep, especially with the Ardent Sensor. PWL helping out with those shields. But Ragnarok's Death Cap completed now for Korn. Insect is still bullying Flame in the bottom lane. And Godvid put up another turret. Insect will get knocked up there. Flame will knock him back. They're not quite into the turret. No, takes a bit of damage. But Kalista takes out the Sun turret. Imp's going to rotate over. Minina's going to proc the Hyper. Zero's here as well. LGD getting run ragged around this map.
They are. Insect's not going to die anytime soon from a Maokai and a Janna. And the response in the mid lane, though it's nothing crazy, is still going to be a turret. Now they're trying. They're starting to feel desperate or finding people out of position. TBQ wants it.
Yeah, pinging onto Korn. The slow will not land TBQ. I think thought about the flash ult, but doesn't go for it. And yeah, instead of mid lane, King's just going to knock this down. Insect, Name, and Zero able to take that away.
And again, we said it was desperation. Well, that is exactly what it is right now. King are just playing around the map. 1 minute and 30 seconds until their Dragon number 5 is available. LGD will finally put themselves in a condition or a position where they can look for a fight. That would be fantastic. And then from that one fight, they can look to try and turn the game around. As the Rylai's is done for Godby, that's big.
Yeah, that's really big. But King is still off about 7,000 gold, so I'm not sure the 3-item Azir is enough to close that gold deficit, but I guess we're going to find out pretty shortly here, Rusty, is Dragon up in just about a minute now.
Yeah, the vision control non-existent right now. And that's not something I'm used to saying about LGD. They've focused a lot of their efforts around the Baron, and so they have sacrificed the entirety of their Dragon control. Now, the numbers advantage is King. The control of the Dragon area is still King, the gold lead King. They couldn't ask for anything more coming into this Dragon 5 if it's a fight. LGD are starting to mount up a defiance though.
Yep, you can see grouping up in the mid lane, want some space here around the center. Gonna take out that turret. Yeah, Korn's just thinking, can I get this tower? Insect's probably thinking the same. King just gonna back away. Insect will get 1 tower, that's 6 now.
They're
Korn
doing Baron.
gonna work on this one. They are! LGD going in for this Baron. Korn's not there, but this is dangerous.
This is dangerous because Korn is taking their turret. They should be able to get this uncontested, but the Dragon is now available. Korn can rotate from this inhibitor to the Dragon pit.
Yeah, and that's Sheen for Korn. Not even the Lichbane doing quite a lot of work here. He'll take the inhibitor. Teleports are coming. Insect's trying to join in. King want this Dragon.
It's gone.
It is gone.
They get the Baron, but they've now lost Dragon 5 and an inhibitor for their troubles. At the very least, they're able to defend a lot better with the Baron minions to try and push them away from the base. But really, they're trying to lose this game as hard as they possibly can. They get a trade for it. At the very least, getting the Baron's nice. But King are so happy to just take that trade. Realistically, it favors King still.
I agree. I just feel like LGD are playing to lose, playing to not lose, rather than playing to win.
Yeah. They're trying to stall the game out, but by stalling the game out, they've given the 5th Dragon buff over to King, who still, to be fair, need to make something happen with it. We're yet to see it happen. LGD can still definitely win a team fight. It's just exponentially harder than it was.
Almost like a challenge to King. It's like, yeah, I'll give you 5 dragons. Let's see if we can win.
Let's go with that.
I don't know.
Sounds reasonable given what has happened.
King gonna keep pushing though. Korn real close to that Lichbane, which means those structures are gonna be under even more threat. Name with 4 items. Insect with great items here. 2 major defensive ones and a couple of smaller offensive ones. A Locket, a Frozen Heart, 3.5 items on the Fizz, plus the Righteous Glory there on the Alistar. Things are looking good for King. It's just a matter of finding that one little fight to close this game out.
Yeah, so that's the thing though, is trying to find that fight when LGD have the Baron minions available. It's really hard for them to get under the turret if there is a single member with the buff nearby. Now, it's entirely possible for them to do, but it's going to be execution heavy. It's going to involve a dive. Can they do that?
I like that Korn's flanking there as well. Good positioning there. Fish goes in.
He just lost his mega.
Doesn't quite get it. Huey getting dropped in as well, but Korn's going to dive straight in. Zero's in the back as well. Name, I think trying to take the tower as Godby's dove in, but Imps could be in trouble now. Korn going to dive in, try and take him. Name does kill Godby. Huey's low in the backside, but he chrono breaks out. Godby's already dead. PYL there as well. Insect still not dead there as Imp gets headbutted back. Fate's Call will save Alistar. Massive double stun there onto LGD. Imp will die. Flame will die. And that's an ace for King.
A triple kill for Korn, and he just goes off in this game. Basically a silver platter of a victory where LGD, they just seem to be in shambles. It didn't feel like at any stage they really wanted to get ahead in that game. They didn't force anything. They just let it happen to them.
They did, and Korn's Fizz, the old comfort pick for him, really good in that game. Like, we've seen his Fizz this year. That was one of the best Fizz games I've seen from Korn, and honestly, just globally, that was awesome to watch.
He beat the clock, 100%.
Yep.
They find picks, and he's always picking off the important target or the possible pick. He didn't go all in to find Imp. He took PYO on. That was really smart from him. And this King's side, seemingly off the back of what was a horrendous defeat, they pull it back together, they reset, and they play back to their strengths. They let Korn go massive, and that's exactly what he did.
And again, King, playoff dreams no longer alive, but that 1 point does help them
That's right.
in their quest to get out from that bottom spot on the ladder. Not many games left for them to play, but taking a game off LGD is at least good for their morale. And LGD, the streak finally ends.
That's right. They did not finish this one 2-0. Their last best of twos, their last two best of twos were 2-0. So they've shown kinks in the armor. Not entirely sure what the exact kink would be in this case, but losing the will to win